If you own a home and are thinking about buying another one, you're in the right place. One of the first decisions you'll have to face is whether or not to sell your current home before purchasing the new one. Each option comes with its own benefits and challenges. Navigating the real estate market can be challenging, especially if you're selling and buying a house at the same time. But with proper planning and informed decisions, you could make this process seamless. This video will help you understand the pros, the cons, and the strategies to succeed in both buying and selling a home simultaneously. Let's talk about buying a home before selling your current one. Transitioning between homes can be a complex process, but some people prefer to just go ahead and buy the new one. It gives them more flexibility, it gives them more peace, and it's one step at a time. However, you gotta weigh the pros and the cons to see if this aligns with your lifestyle goals and your financial goals. So let's talk about the pros of buying a house before selling. First, if you find your dream home, you could go get it. There's nothing stopping you between getting what you want when you want it. Secondly, there's no temporary housing cost. So if you had sold your home but not found the perfect next home yet, you wouldn't have to figure out, where am I going to stay? Maybe you're a hotel, a VRBO, all of those kinds of things. So no temporary housing cost if you had a gap between the two. Also, flexibility on moving. You have all your stuff in your current home. You now own your next home, so you can take your time and do what you want to do at your own pace to get from A to B. Now the cons. This could be a real financial strain on you, and your family might feel it too. Maintaining 2 mortgages could really be a strain financially. So make sure you have enough savings to cover the costs before you ever do that. There's also a risk of your current home not selling quickly. Can you really sustain those 2 mortgages for 6, 8, 10, 12 months? The market might be a certain way now, but it can always change in the drop of a hat. So really think about that risk of your property not selling in the time frame that you think it should. Another con is you could make an offer on the home you want to buy contingent upon your house selling, but a lot of sellers don't like this because your offer isn't really solid. So if you don't go ahead and sell your house first, and you go ahead and find a house that you love, but you need the other house to sell in order to do it, it can really put everybody in a bind. If you're going to take this approach, make sure you have a great real estate agent representing you who knows how to write these kinds of contracts and communicate very well to the other side what it is you're looking to do. And while I'm not an active licensed real estate agent, if you need some help finding a great real estate agent in your area, reach out to me. I have a link in the video description to my calendar. Get some time with me. If I know somebody great in your area, I'd be more than happy to connect you. All right, let's move to selling your house before you buy the next one. This is a very common strategy for homeowners, and it helps give you financial peace. It helps reduce a lot of the risks that we just talked about. And it allows you to know exactly how much you can afford when you're moving forward and buying the next house. All right, so let's talk about the pros. Well, we just kind of alluded to the most important one. It is clear what your budget is. You've sold your house or it's almost sold. You know how much money you're going to get. You know what you have to pay off. You know what those closing costs are. And you have a real sense, almost to the penny, of how much money you're walking away from and can put into the purchase of the next home. Number 2 on the pro list, you will not have an increased financial burden. The other house will be paid off and gone, and then you will start fresh with the new house and the new mortgage. That is a beautiful thing. You will also be in a stronger buying position because you will not have a contingency based upon the sale of your home. If you are with a great loan officer, he or she should do this. This is what I do for my clients every time. You should be fully pre-approved for the next house you want to buy. And in fact, in most situations, you can be fully approved with the lender as a borrower so that the only thing left to go through underwriting are the documents based on the house you want to buy. Okay, that's really important because you could move really quickly. So all that would be needed would be the contract, the appraisal, and then any other documents that might be particular to your type of transaction. Now, with every good set of pros, there's a few cons, so let's put some on the table, okay? First, you may have a temporary housing need. If you sell your house at the end of the month, but you either haven't found the next home or can't close on the next home till maybe a few weeks later, you're gonna need to go somewhere. But I know you can do it. I know you can figure that out. And just budget for it. At least you don't have the old mortgage, right, hanging out. So, you may have to spend a little money there. You could have a really tight timeline. Sometimes people are moving for jobs and they have a start date and they need to get out of their other house and get into the next one like toot sweet, like really quickly, right? Other times you may have children and there may be a school start date that's really impacting your decision. There's all kinds of reasons why you aren't flexible on that move-in date. So that can cause a little bit of stress if you're waiting for one house to sell before you buy the next. But again, take a deep breath. Hopefully you have a great realtor who can help you with some local resources and make this con a little bit easier. And there could be some additional cost. If you don't go straight from house A to house B, on top of where you are going to stay, you're going to need to know where your stuff's going to stay, right? You might need to rent a storage unit. You may have to pay to have things put in and taken out. If you're hiring movers, instead of them touching it in the same day from house to house, they may have to pack it, move it, store it somewhere, and then repack the truck and move it to the house. So you could have a few extra expenses that way. Now, there is a middle ground here. You could keep your old home and turn it into a rental property. If that strikes a chord with you, let me know. My husband and I did this many, many times. We had quite an extensive real estate portfolio in our late 20s and into our 30s. And I've pretty much done everything that I ever do for other people, which is kind of cool. I haven't just done this as a loan officer, I've done it personally too. But if that's something you're interested in, is keeping your house that you're moving out of and turning it into a rental so that you can start an investment portfolio and then go buy your next new primary residence, grab some time on my calendar and we'll have a conversation. I'll help you with that. Here's the reality for most of you. Before you decide on anything, you need to get with a loan officer to see how much you can afford with or without selling your current home. I know that's not as much fun as picking out the next house. Trust me, I got it, but it is critical and it should be the first thing that you do. You need to know exactly what you can and cannot do financially. You'll thank me later. Going through the pre-approval process should feel a little bit like deja vu, right? You've bought a house before and most likely with a mortgage. So your loan officer is going to have you fill out a complete loan application. We're going to pull credit on you. We're going to need to see supporting documents from you. And then we'll let you know how much you can afford to spend on the next house and whether selling your home is a condition or not of moving forward. That's simple. So how do you sell and buy a house simultaneously? Well, here's a couple strategies that should really help you. First of all, work with experienced professionals, all right? Partner with an experienced real estate agent, not just your friend, not just your neighbor, not just your family member. I know it might hurt some feelings, but listen, guys, buying a house is a big deal. You're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's quite possibly the largest single financial transaction of your life. Make sure that whoever's representing you, like me on the loan side and whoever it is on the real estate side, make sure they know their stuff. Make sure they are professional. Make sure that they go to conferences, that they have a skill set, that they are, they treat this like a real job. It's not just something that they do for fun, okay? There are some skill sets you need to make sure they really have before they start representing you in negotiations and spending this much money. As far as a real estate agent goes, he or she needs to help you coordinate timelines. They need to evaluate market conditions. They need to negotiate favorable terms, both for the sale and the purchase, right, for you. And as far as a lender goes, you need somebody who understands the idiosyncrasies of what happens if everything doesn't go smoothly. What if the house that you're selling falls through? But if you don't buy the new house in the time frame that you committed to, you're going to lose money, right? Do we have some plan Bs or some plan Cs? There are things like bridge loans and home equity lines of credits that should be talked about if this is a really tight transition. These two terms that I just threw out, bridge loans and HELOC and home equity line of credit, which are also known as HELOCs, these are some different financing options. They're not always going to be as favorable as just selling your house and buying the next one. But if you get in a bind and you need some sort of Band-Aid to help get you from A to B, these could be things to help. They don't work in every situation, but they do work. So depending on your situation, your loan officer should be talking to you about all kinds of different things as backup plans, especially if things start to look like they're getting a little iffy. I'm a mortgage broker, so I have all these programs available to me. If you're working with one bank directly, they may not. They may only have a few products and that's it. So that is another thing that I didn't mention earlier necessarily. When you're looking for a loan officer to represent you, I would really encourage you to look for a mortgage broker and not a single lender loan officer. It'll help you if you get in a pickle. I don't want to do the realtor's job, but I want to reiterate the fact of having a contingency clause. So letting the people of the home that you're buying know that you can only close on it if your other house sells, okay? The realtor and your loan officer should be in communication with each other. They should both understand the dynamics of what's happening on both sides and be working together to make sure that the right verbiage is in that contract and the timelines are being met. And if anything starts to look like it's not going to happen, then they can start to work together to come up with plan Bs and Cs together. Okay. I don't want you to freak out over this because the reality is this happens a lot. Every month I have buyers who are selling their home so that way they can have the money to buy the next one. Last month alone, I had 2. So it's very common. Okay. So don't freak out. And this is normal. We know how to handle it. But again, not all loan officers are created equal and not all realtors are created equal. So just make sure you have good ones. And you need to stay organized. You don't have to become the professional and you don't have to know all of these things, but you do need to be aware, okay, with your loan. What are the dates that you need to be tracking? With the home purchase, on your real estate contract, what are the dates that you need to be tracking? These are things like due diligence dates, financing contingency dates, inspection contingency dates. Every state has different verbiage. But if you go back and read your contract and get with your realtor, ask him or her, what are the dates that are in this contract that I need to know about so we can make sure that we have done everything we need to do before we get to that date, and then we don't have the opportunity to cancel or negotiate if we didn't like something. So should you sell your house now or wait? Deciding what to do depends on several factors, and many of these can significantly impact the timing and financial outcome of the sale. So understanding these factors is critical to making an informed decision that aligns with your goals and circumstances. First, market conditions. Is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? In a seller's market, there's high demand and limited inventory, and that oftentimes means homes sell more quickly and for a little more money. Conversely, in a buyer's market, there's more inventory, allowing buyers to negotiate a little bit more because there's another home that they could go buy if it didn't work out with you, right? So understand the current marketing dynamics, and that'll help you decide if it's the right time for you to sell. Seasonal trends. Now, I'm from Florida, and I did the first half of my career there. We didn't really have very many seasonal trends. What we did have is we would have more people visiting in the winter because it was so beautiful and they wanted to get out of the north. But there are some places where truly business comes to almost a screeching halt in the winter. There is so much snow, it is so cold that unless you are just forced to move for something that's out of your control, most people are not choosing to move during those times. So depending where you live in the country, depending what kind of seasonal trends might be happening where you are, that could help in the timing, that could help or hurt in the timing of your sale or purchase, okay? And then, are you ready? Are you financially stable to support 2 mortgages and put your house for sale and go ahead and find the new one? Are you financially ready to move up, right? Sell your house, throw a little more money in there, increase your monthly payment. How about your job? Do you feel safe in your job? Or when is that job transfer? When do you need to make that move? What are your long-term goals? So I could give you a list a mile long because all of us are unique. But what is going on in your world that's causing you to move? And then are you really ready to pull the trigger? If you haven't done so, you need to start with a loan officer. Like I said, might not be the most fun you've ever had, but I promise it's not that painful, and it will give you so much peace. So if you don't have a great loan officer in your court, I'd love to do that for you. My link's in the description. Get some time on my calendar. I also have a free Smart Homebuyers guide that will walk you through the entire process in a PDF. You can print it out. You can make notes on it. And once you go through that, if you have questions, get with me. I hope this video was helpful. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.